the first out of state rental, and this one's really dear to my heart. This because you can score wins and hit home runs in your hometown all day long, rental wise, because you're just driving down the street. Church on the Move is what, 15, 20 minutes away.
Yep.
Okay. All the campuses are within 30 minutes. Well, BA's, I can walk over to, sort of walk over to BA's 2 miles. But then when it comes to like this out of state stuff, so first of all, Andrew tweeted about using us, which was huge.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you didn't have to do that. He's like, you've earned it. I was like, okay. Well, the guys from the Village Church reached out and went to our site. And at that time, our site was, I think, in version 1 while we were building version 2 in the back end. And it was just a WordPress site with like click, get a quote. That's not what we wanted to do. It's just that's how we had to start, and that's all the money we had to start with. So not tied to inventory, any of the stuff that you're lucky you weren't here.
Yeah,
Matt can appreciate things because he was all the way back on version 2. I appreciate things because I was back on version 0. But this was just a way to start doing blogs and getting the Google searches built and whatever that's called, the keywords,
SEO, all that stuff.
Yeah, without vomiting keywords, just real content.
Yeah.
And so Village Church reaches out, and all I had at the time was the QLXD and the AKG in-airs. Anyway, decent rental, probably the biggest rental at that time I've ever put together. I was so excited. I think I even recorded the whole conversation like with my phone or something like that, just so I could go back and critique myself on how I handled stuff. And Brad Weigel, shout out to Brad if you end up listening to this, man, love you. He was willing to try us out for the first time. So rental ship date comes. I'm super excited. I even have a video of me dropping it off at FedEx. It's a moment for us.
Yeah.
You want to capture?
It's a big deal.
Yes, very big deal. Well, I'm in a meeting on a Friday with my partners, and I get a call from Brad. He's like, "Hey, man, do you remember that thing that I told you about? Our church can't receive packages on Friday." I was like, "Yeah." It's like, well, it turns out we looked at the tracking and it's still at FedEx, and their retreat starts that night.
Oh man,
in Denton, and they're down in like Flower Mound.
Yeah.
So I found out real quick how far away Denton and Flower Mound are away from one another. And so one thing I didn't realize at our FedEx, note to self, everybody. So we're huge FedEx customers, so we know all the moves. Don't drop your ground stuff off after 5 at your at like a FedEx location.
Yeah, because they have a truck come.
A truck comes. A FedEx Express at the airport is where I dropped them off, thinking, oh, they're fine.
Yeah,
because they don't close until 9 at the time, 9:30. Oh no, it waits the next day and then goes out. And so it's like, oh my gosh. And so that's why the stuff wasn't getting delivered. So it's just like, what do you do? This is where character is developed, making the tough but right decisions. So it's just like, okay, this is the fire is just.
Oh yeah.
So like I walked out of that meeting and I'm like, do I get on a plane? What do I do? Gosh, my wife had, we had the twins that earlier that year. So we're I think now officially four kids. With the oldest being 4.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, sweetheart, pack up the kids, jump in the Yukon and meet me halfway or meet me in Choteau on 69.
Yeah.
And we're going to start driving down to Dallas. What's great is I have a wife who's super supportive and totally understood the heart and vision and everything that I had for Mike Reynolds and the people we wanted to reach. And this was testing that. Like how deep?
How committed are you to this?
This is where you need to roll the Bee Gees song or whatever. How deep is your love?
Yeah,
because
100%.
Like that's the. So we drove, and man, I leaned on DJ Connections, our partners, to help one of their manager down in Dallas to jump in and help us get the rental out of FedEx. First of all, at the same time, and this is our first 2. Getting a courier to meet him. He's got to go to his wedding gig. So that courier is meeting them. He's got that. In the meantime, we finally roll up into Denton, and they got nothing. mic wise.
Yeah.
They rented the drum mic package. They rented the 414s for guitars, the wireless in-ears.
Yeah.
They had almost everything I had at
Yeah.
the time. And I roll up and I'm just being all I know to be and being relational, being very transparent, letting
Yeah.
them know like I screwed that up.
Yeah.
That was me. Didn't have anybody to blame then. I still, even though I do now, I don't. I remember that night I met Josh Stevens. I met Wes Ashworth, who's still at the Village Church, and of course Brad Weigel. And I took everybody out to B-Dubs. It's like production people like B-Dubs. Let's go. And like hoping to God, I keep checking my phone. I was like, where the courier's going to be. We get back, and I think 5 minutes later, the courier gets there, and I'm like, hey, when it gets here, I'm going to help you set stuff up. You know. So that was and that night we drove back to Denton. I had a 5 a.m. call time the next morning on another production I was working on because I still had to work. I'm not getting paid, so I still have to work. Since then, Village Church has been a customer year after year after year, probably at least twice a year. But more importantly, I feel like we're their friends. We've helped them offload some used gear for them a little bit, and every time I'm within range of Flower Mound, I stop by and say hi, or at least call and say. I remember telling Brad, you guys will always be a part of our story, and that's great. Even though there's screw ups, still proud of it. So